Pushpin disclaimer. The story you are about to read contains emotionally intense themes and explores the fragile boundaries of trust, affection, and betrayal within a complex family dynamic. This fictional narrative is intended for mature audiences and aims to highlight the emotional impact of inappropriate relationships, blurred lines, and vulnerable human connections. Viewer discretion is advised. All characters, events, and situations are entirely fictional. My name is Emily, and until a year ago, I thought I had a normal life. Or at least, what counted as normal for someone whose mother packed up and left when she was 13. My dad, Mark, picked up every shattered piece of our family and glued it back together. He became everything: my protector, my confidant, my guide. He cooked, cleaned, worked 2 jobs, and still managed to be there for every important moment in my life. We weren't rich, but we were close. That mattered more. I never doubted his love, not even for a second. I always told my friends how lucky I was to have a dad like him. The kind of dad who remembered your favorite ice cream flavor, who brought you medicine in the middle of the night, who learned how to braid hair from YouTube videos just to make you smile. But things started to change after I broke up with Jason, my boyfriend of 2 years. It was messy, painful, and sudden. Jason had cheated on me with someone I considered a friend, and I was left reeling, humiliated, and angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. That's when Dad stepped in more than ever before. He made me tea before bed, stayed up late watching movies with me, and gave me these long, comforting hugs that lasted a little longer each time. I told myself he was just being supportive. That's what dads do, right? Especially when their daughters are hurting. But I began to notice subtle things I'd never picked up on before. The way his eyes lingered when I wore tank tops around the house. How his compliments felt heavier, like they were meant for someone other than his daughter. One night, I came home after a long, exhausting shift at the campus library. I was wearing a simple dress, nothing fancy. But when I walked into the living room, Dad looked at me differently. Not with fatherly concern, but something else, something I couldn't quite name then, but it made my skin prickle. I laughed it off, pushed the thought aside. I was tired, emotional, and probably overthinking. That's what I told myself. But it didn't stop there. The lines between fatherly care and emotional dependence began to blur. I found myself seeking his attention more because it filled a void. I was lonely. And the way he looked at me made me feel desired. It was dangerous, and I didn't want to admit it. Not even to myself. That was the first crack. The kind you ignore because you want to believe what you've always believed. That your home is safe. That your father is just your father. It was a quiet Friday night. The kind that sinks into your skin like a warm bath. I'd made popcorn, thrown on a hoodie over my pajamas, and curled up on the couch with Dad. We were watching one of those old mystery thrillers he loved, something about secrets and lies and people hiding behind masks. Funny how real that would soon become. Halfway through the movie, I noticed how close we were sitting. Our arms brushed every now and then, and every time it happened, neither of us pulled away. Dad laughed at something on screen, and his hand casually landed on my knee. My breath caught. He didn't move it immediately. And I didn't say anything. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't obvious. But it lingered. Like something testing boundaries, seeing how far it could go before it was noticed. But I did notice. I froze for a moment. My heart thudded in my chest. But my brain, tired and confused, told me it was innocent. That I was imagining things. Still, something inside me shifted. When the movie ended, the room felt heavier. The lights stayed off. Dad turned to me with this softness in his eyes I'd only seen when I was a little girl. Back when he used to tuck me in and tell me everything would be okay. "I'm proud of you," he said suddenly, voice low, almost a whisper. "You've grown into such a beautiful young woman." There was a long pause. Too long. His words hung in the air like smoke. I didn't know how to respond. I looked away, smiled awkwardly, and muttered a soft, "Thanks, Dad." But he kept looking at me. And then, in the quietest voice, as if sharing a secret meant only for me, he said, "I'd do anything for you. And I know you'd do anything for me too." I blinked. My stomach twisted. "Right?" he added, leaning in slightly. I nodded. Slowly. cautiously. I didn't want to disappoint him. I didn't want to break that fragile bond we had. Yeah, I whispered. Dad, I'll do whatever you say. The words slipped out before I understood their weight. They were automatic, conditioned. But the moment they left my lips, his expression changed, just slightly. There was a flicker of something dark, something victorious. He leaned back, smiled gently, and kissed my forehead. Good girl, he murmured. I felt my heart throb in my ears. I went to bed that night in silence, lying on my side, staring at the wall, trying to make sense of what had just happened. It was like waking up inside a dream that was too quiet, too real, too uncomfortable. I told myself again that it was nothing, that maybe I was reading into it too much. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. The days that followed were filled with silence, not the cold kind, but the kind that carries weight. Like the air between two people who know something has changed but are too scared to name it. I started noticing more, small gestures that didn't feel fatherly anymore. His eyes lingered when I walked into the room. His compliments came more often, softer, more personal. When I cooked breakfast one morning in shorts and an oversized t-shirt, he didn't just say thanks. He said I looked adorable. Then he added, Jason must have been a fool to let you go. That name, Jason, it hit a nerve. Maybe because I hadn't thought about him in weeks. Or maybe because, for the first time, I didn't care. I was getting attention again, just not from where it was supposed to come. One night, while I was helping Dad fold laundry in the living room, our hands touched while reaching for the same towel. We both froze. I looked up, and he was already staring at me. His eyes didn't move. His fingers didn't either. I didn't pull away. Why didn't I? I don't know. Maybe because I'd spent so long being lonely. Maybe because for the first time in a long time, I felt needed, wanted, even if it was wrong. And it was wrong. I told myself this over and over again. But the line between guilt and comfort started to blur. And that scared me more than anything. Later that night, he came to my room with a blanket and a cup of tea, something he used to do when I had nightmares as a kid. He sat on the edge of my bed, handed me the mug, and said, I just want you to feel safe, even when the world isn't. I nodded, holding back the storm inside me. Then, gently, he reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His hand lingered on my cheek, warm and trembling. My breath hitched. I just don't want to lose you, he whispered. You're the only thing I've got. I should have said something. I should have asked him to leave. But instead, I whispered, you won't lose me. I promise. He leaned in and rested his forehead against mine. We sat there like that, close, breath touching breath. No words. Just heat and confusion and emotions I didn't know how to contain. He didn't kiss me. Not yet. But everything else in that moment crossed a line I couldn't uncross. And I didn't stop it. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling with eyes wide open. My hands shook under the blanket. My heart wouldn't slow down. What were we doing? What was I becoming? This wasn't love, was it? Then why did it feel like the only thing I had left? I used to think you had to be screaming to feel violated. That it had to be loud, brutal, obvious. But now I know, sometimes, it's in the silence. In the trust that's quietly chipped away until you're standing on shattered glass, pretending not to bleed. It happened on a rainy Thursday. I had just come out of the shower, wrapped in my towel, walking toward my room when I realized my door was slightly open. Normally, I'd close it behind me without a second thought, but something told me not to. Something told me he was nearby. And I was right. Dad was standing at the end of the hallway, a laundry basket in his hands, eyes fixed on me. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. But his eyes, they didn't look away. I clutched the towel tighter around my chest. I'll grab my clothes in a sec, I said, voice half shaky, half annoyed. He nodded and walked past me. But as he did, his hand brushed against my bare shoulder. It wasn't accidental. It was too slow, too intentional. I froze. It wasn't the touch itself, it was everything behind it. The months of buildup. The glances. The emotional pressure. The twisted closeness that had started to feel like a cage. I didn't move. He turned around and softly said, "You've grown up so much." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The air felt thick. Like breathing too deeply would crack something inside me. He stepped closer, his eyes studying my face. "You don't have to be afraid," he whispered. "You know I'd never hurt you." But he was hurting me, and I didn't even know how to say it. He raised his hand again slowly and brushed a damp strand of hair off my cheek. His fingers moved down my jaw, then lingered near my neck. My body went numb. All I could hear was the sound of water dripping from my hair onto the floor. This wasn't a father's touch. This wasn't protection. This was possession masked as care. My lips parted, but nothing came out. No protest. No scream. Just a whisper stuck in my throat. He stepped back like nothing had happened. Like that moment didn't just rewrite everything I thought I knew. "I'll let you get dressed," he said calmly. Then he walked away. I collapsed on my bed, clutching the towel to my chest, shaking. My skin still felt like his fingers were on it. I wanted to scream, to cry, to undo the last 5 minutes of my life. But I couldn't. Because I wasn't sure anymore if I was a victim or an accomplice. And that truth, that terrifying, sickening truth, froze me from the inside out. After that night, nothing was the same. I started avoiding him, locking my door, skipping meals, staying late on campus even when I didn't have classes. I told my friends I was just stressed, but the truth was, I didn't know how to exist in the same space as him anymore. Every time I heard his footsteps in the hallway, my stomach twisted. Every time he looked at me, I felt stripped of the person I used to be. I wanted to leave. I needed to. I packed a small bag one evening while he was out buying groceries. Just the basics, a few clothes, my laptop, my ID. I didn't even know where I would go. Maybe Rachel's place. She was my roommate last year, and she always said her door was open. Or maybe a hotel for a few nights until I could think clearly. I just knew I couldn't stay. As I zipped up my bag, the front door opened. I panicked. Too late. "Emily," he called out, his voice echoing through the apartment. "What are you doing?" I froze in the hallway, bag slung over my shoulder. I turned around slowly, trying to steady my breath. "I just need a few days away. Clear my head." He looked at the bag, then back at me. "You're running away?" he asked, not angry, just calm. Too calm. "I'm not running," I said. "I just need space." He stepped closer. "From me?" I didn't answer. "Emily," he whispered, "you don't need space. You're just confused. Everything we've been through. I've only ever wanted to protect you." My hands started shaking. "I'm not a little girl anymore, Dad," I said. "I know what's happening. And I can't pretend anymore." His eyes narrowed. "You said you'd do whatever I say." I took a step back. I was scared. "I thought you were just being a dad, but this is not love." He grabbed my arm firm, not violent, but controlling. "You're not going anywhere. We need to talk. You'll understand once you calm down." I yanked my arm away. "You don't get to control me." For the first time, his calm shattered. His voice rose, eyes sharp. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you thank me? Leaving like your mother." That word, mother, cut deep. "She left because she couldn't breathe," I snapped. "And now I get it. I finally understand." He stepped back, wounded. But I didn't stop. "I loved you. I trusted you. But you've twisted that into something I can't even look at without feeling sick." The silence after that was deafening. He didn't speak. He didn't stop me. I walked out with my bag, my hands trembling and my heart screaming. The door closed behind me, and for the first time in months, I could finally breathe. But even with the distance, I knew this wasn't over. I thought leaving would fix everything. I thought if I just got away, put miles between us, I could silence the guilt, the confusion, the voice in my head that still whispered his words when I closed my eyes at night. But trauma doesn't pack itself neatly into a bag. It follows you into your friend's apartment, into every mirror, into your dreams. Rachel welcomed me with open arms. No questions, no judgment. Just a couch, some takeout, and the kind of warmth that didn't feel like a trap. Still, I didn't tell her the truth. I couldn't. How do you explain that the person you trusted most in this world blurred every line you thought was sacred? That you let it happen not once, but over and over, because a part of you craved the attention, even if it was poisoned? So I lied. I needed space. Things were just tense at home. She nodded, accepting that version of the story. And I let her. But at night, when the lights were off and the city noise hummed outside the window, the memories came crawling back. The touch. The whispers. The moment I said, "I'll do whatever you say." It haunted me. Worse, I started questioning myself. Was I complicit? Did I lead him on by not stopping him sooner? Was I damaged for craving affection in the wrong places? That kind of thinking eats you alive. A week passed. I started missing classes. Skipping meals. Rachel noticed, but I brushed it off. Said I had a cold. Said I just needed sleep. What I really needed was to forget. But forgetting was impossible. Because even when I blocked his number, he found ways to reach me. Emails. Messages from unknown accounts. Voicemails that started with silence, then his voice breaking through like a ghost. "I miss you, baby girl. Come home." He still called me that. I deleted them. Every time. But I listened first. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't help it. His voice still had that strange pull, familiar, warm, dangerous. One night, I walked past a diner near campus and saw a man who looked just like him sitting by the window. My breath caught. I ran 3 blocks before realizing it wasn't even him. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't safe. Not in this city. Not in my skin. Not in my mind. Leaving had freed my body, but not my heart. Not my memory. That's when I realized something. Running didn't save me. Because the prison wasn't just the house I left, it was the person I'd become inside it. And if I wanted to escape for good, I had to stop hiding. It had been almost 3 weeks since I left. Rachel had started to worry. My professors had emailed me about missing assignments. But none of that mattered because I knew I couldn't move forward until I faced the one thing I was still running from him. I stared at the email he'd sent that morning. Subject line, "Please. One last time." It was short. Just a few lines. "I won't touch you. I just want to talk. Please. You mean everything to me. I'm sorry if I crossed a line." That last sentence stung. If he crossed a line. There was no if. But I needed to see him. Not to forgive him. To finish this. I didn't tell Rachel where I was going. I just left. Took a train back to the edge of the city where the apartment still sat like a memory frozen in time. As I climbed the steps, my body felt like it was carrying bricks. My palms were sweating. My mind kept screaming, "Turn around," but my heart had already passed the point of no return. He opened the door before I could knock. He looked older. Tired. Like the guilt had been eating him from the inside out. "Emily," he said, his voice barely audible. I walked past him without a word, sat down on the couch where it had all started. The movie nights. The whispered praises. The confusion. He sat across from me, his eyes searching mine like he was hoping to find the girl who used to adore him without question. "She's gone," I said. He lowered his gaze. "I know." There was a long silence between us. Then he spoke. "I didn't mean for any of it to happen like that. I was lonely. And you were so kind. You needed me. And I got lost in it. I forgot how to be your father." His words were soft. Measured. Like a confession rehearsed over sleepless nights. "But you never stopped being my daughter," he added. "No," I said quietly, "you stopped being my dad the moment you looked at me like I was someone else." He nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "I hate myself for it." "Then why didn't you stop?" He didn't answer. Maybe he didn't have one. And that was the problem. "I don't need your guilt," I said. "I need my life back." He nodded again. "I'll leave. I'll give you the apartment. I'll do whatever you need. I'll disappear if that's what it takes." I looked at him for a long time. The man who once carried me on his shoulders, taught me how to ride a bike, read me bedtime stories. Now just a broken man across the room, trying to make sense of the wreckage he caused. "I don't want anything from you," I said firmly. "Just let me go." He didn't fight. He just whispered, "Okay." It's been 6 months since I walked out of that apartment for the last time. Since I looked into my father's eyes and told him I never wanted to see him again. 6 months of rebuilding myself piece by piece. People think healing is about forgetting, about leaving the past behind and pretending it never happened. But the truth is, healing is learning how to carry the past without letting it drown you. I still have nightmares. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, clutching my sheets, gasping for air. Sometimes I hear his voice in my dreams, not yelling, but whispering. The way he used to. Soft. Manipulative. Dangerous. I started therapy 2 months ago. The first session, I couldn't even say the word "dad" without breaking down. I cried so hard the therapist had to stop the clock and just let me breathe. But each session got a little easier. I've learned that what happened to me had nothing to do with love. That confusion is what predators feed on. That silence doesn't mean consent. That fear can wear a familiar face. I've also learned that I'm not alone. There are others like me, girls who loved too hard, trusted too deeply, and were broken by the very people meant to protect them. And now I speak up. I started journaling again. Then I turned my journal entries into blog posts. Last week, one of them went viral. Hundreds of women commented, some whispering their own truths for the first time. Some just saying, "Thank you." I never named him. I never had to. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my voice. Rachel's still by my side. She cried when I told her everything. But she never judged. She held me literally and told me I was brave. That I was strong. I didn't believe her then. I'm starting to believe her now. I still walk past that diner where I once thought I saw him. But now I don't flinch. I don't run. Because I'm not afraid of ghosts anymore. I don't know where he is now. He kept his word. Disappeared. No emails. No messages. Nothing. And I hope it stays that way. Because I'm not that girl anymore. I survived him. But I'll never be the same. And maybe that's okay. Because the girl I used to be. She was scared. She was obedient. She whispered, "I'll do whatever you say," thinking that was love. Now I say something different. I'll do whatever it takes to protect myself. And that finally feels like the truth. 90.